Yep, it's that time again where another AAA company charges you $70 for a video game, but they can't even be bothered enough to finish the game, and the game released unfinished, buggy, and barely playable. This happened again, and this is just the brand new norm. I'm pretty sure if you're buying a game day one, you should already come in with the expectation that the game is literally not going to work, which is literally why I recommend you never buy any game day one, especially AAA games, because the chance of them just being buggy, broken, unfinished is just so high these days. It's just absolutely sad. And especially unacceptable, because they should be able to get away with this. Again, video games now are $70, and if you're in other countries, it could be even more. Some of them could be 90, even 100 in some places, and you can't even buy a video game, and it's probably not even going to work, which is just crazy. So what's the brand new game company and the brand new game that does this? Well, it has to do with EA and their brand new Star Wars game, Jedi Survival. Now, the first Respawn Star Wars game, I think it was called Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, was a game that a lot of people ended up liking. I ended up playing a little bit of it, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. That was kind of the point where I was getting really sick of like Souls-like fatigue and just every single game trying to be a Souls-like. Other than that, it was an extremely good game. A lot of people did enjoy it, especially the story of the game and playing it. So obviously when the sequel came out, a lot of people were super duper excited of it and they really wanted to jump in and see what's going to be like the next game in this series, because I think they ended up saying something that they were going to make it into a trilogy. I don't know if that's 100% true. So people were really getting ready to play the sequel, and when people ended up playing the game barely even worked. This has to be literally one of the worst PC ports I've ever seen in a long time. Even worse than the last terrible PC port we had to mention, which was being The Last of Us Part 1, where that game was filled to the brim with assets that wouldn't load, and people literally looking like they made out of Play-Doh. This game is literally somehow worse. This game runs so bad, you can't even get a consistent 60 frames per second. And I know there's a lot of people on the internet who just says that absolutely stupid brain-rotted take, where they go all like, oh, you guys are just too privileged. Look how good you gamers are expecting my game to run 60 frames per second. I'm sorry, we're not like in 2016 or 2017 anymore. We're generally at the point where 60 frames per second should be the average. Every game should be able to run at 60 frames per second on PC, and especially on like the next gen consoles, you know, the consoles that can be around like $500. They should be able to run games at like 60 frames per second, maybe even 120. But this game can't even get any of that. You can barely, and I mean barely, get 60 frames per second. Most people are getting like this legendary 40 to 30 frames per second, but that literally doesn't matter because the stuttering will be so bad, you're most likely getting like 30 to 20 frames per second. There are general videos are people who are running on the strongest PCs that literally money could buy. I'm talking about the brand new graphics card, the RTX 4080 and the RTX 4060, big beefy cards that barely any people have. And I'm here to tell you how powerful these cards are. These are graphics cards that can run nearly any game at like 4K, 140 and 120 frames per second consistently with like no stuttering and no work. Those cards, they can't even get a consistent 60 frames per second. They're getting 30. That's how badly optimized the game is. So I generally don't know how anyone who has like a weaker PC or who doesn't have an extremely strong PC, how are you even playing the game? And that's how it is for people with the strongest graphics card. Now let's go down to like the two graphics card that most people most likely have. It's barely running. If you have like a 6060 Super, some people say you can't even get inside the game. You have like a 2080 or a 2060, tough luck. I hope you like 20 frames. Even people with like the 30 series graphics card, a graphics card that more and more people are buying, you are not playing this game consistently. You're lucky if you even make it to the point of playing the game, because the install size for this game is so ridiculously large. We're talking about like 130 frames. Like EA ended up seeing Call of Duty and go like, let me make my game even bigger than that. Because, you know, compression doesn't exist anymore, and most game companies just literally don't even care to like make your game smaller so it can actually install, and like 100 of your gigs isn't taken up for one game that literally barely even works and barely even loads. It's just absolutely insane. And I think the one main thing that a lot of people ended up talking about, and I think like the biggest form of criticism that this game ended up getting, is on the DRM. This word has basically become extremely scary when it comes to PC gaming, like this boogeyman, especially when it's like hooked up with Denuvo. So if you don't know what DRM is, basically the point of it is to protect the game from pirating. Because obviously, if you're a company, you don't want people to like instantly crack your game and like pirate it instantly, because then you're not going to make money. So they installed DRM to basically stop that, so people have like a harder time pirating the game. But the problem is that DRM significantly tanks the performance extremely bad. Most games that have DRM, especially a game that has Denuvo, you will get crazy frames decrease and you will generally have a bad experience. And this DRM is so aggressively that if you play this game on two different PCs, the DRM instantly activates and doesn't allow you to play the game. Now most DRM have like a 5 PC limit, which I think is absolutely dumb. I spent $70 on this game. I should be able to load it on as much PCs I own. But a 5 PC limit is something that 95% of people aren't doing. This game has a 1 PC limit. A lot of people can easily reach a 1 PC limit. Let's say you like have a normal gaming PC that you play off at home, but then when you like go to work or I don't know, like travel around, you have a gaming laptop and you want to pick up your progress and play the game there, you can't do that because then the DRM is going to activate and be like, nope, you are not playing this game because you are trying to pirate the game, which is absolutely insane. Or if for some reason you want to play this game on a Steam Deck, again, it's going to activate because no, you're not allowed to do it. DRM is so bad, it's so out of control that we're literally at the point where the people who are sailing the 7 seas, the people who are pirating the game, they are having a better experience. Because if you pirate the game, you don't have to deal with the DRM, so you're basically going to get a better experience than the actual paying customer who's paying you $70. I don't really need to explain how backwards it is. How are we at the point where literally the person who is doing the wrong thing is literally getting the better experience than the person who is paying for the game? How is this even happening? And I think it's crazy that companies do this to like stop people from pirating, but all this is going to do is cause more people sail the 7 seas. You know how much people are going to see this and be like, wait, I can get a better experience if I don't buy the game? Now, the two things I want to talk about, and one thing that I always mention is, and that is people defending this. There are still to this day tons of people who make it their full-time job to defend these actions. Like literally when people go on Twitter and they're mad that this game is releasing broken, or the game that again you're paying a lot of money for doesn't broke, you always have an army of brain dead people who come up saying that the developers will fix it eventually, or like your expectations are too high, or acting like you're the enemy for actually expecting the game you pay for to work. I 100% hold that if you pay money for a video game, it should work because the developers know the game is broken. Now, you don't release a game this broken and you don't know about it. You 100% do, and you're straight up releasing the game broken because you expect that people are still going to buy the game unless you get past this. And you know what? 95% of the time, they're right because there's so much people to defend this, and I think this is 100% unacceptable. The only way to stop video game companies from doing this is to literally do a boycott, which I know boycott is like literally useless because most people wouldn't come together, but this is literally the only thing we have to do. If a game developer ended up releasing a game this unfinished and this bad, no one goes and buy the PC game because we need to stop supporting this and stop normalizing this. It already is normalized. This is just the industry standard now for just you releasing absolutely busted and broken PC ports that literally barely even works and is insane. Now, the developers did end up responding to this, but it's literally just your stereotypical copy and paste response where they're like, we're extremely sorry that the game that we knew was 100% broken and we still purposely release is bad. Oh, we made a mistake. Oh man, we're gonna go fix it eventually. And then they promise like a bunch of patches, and then like 95% of the time the patches usually don't work. Like those people who literally prey on the day one patch, like when the game released on day one, the patch is finally gonna fix the game. Absolutely ridiculous. This is another part, and definitely not gonna be the last part, of game developers releasing games extremely bad and unfinished. Stop defending this. Please do not buy this game. Do not support this developer at all. Do not support any developers who purposely release games unfinished. Anyway, my name is Lua. This is something I want to talk about. You have a good day or night. See you.